All right, let's call to order the Sparks City Council meeting for Monday, September 23rd with a roll call.
Mayor Lawson.
Here.
Council members Abbott.
Here.
Vanderwell.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Bivey. Here. Dare.
Here.
City Attorney Duncan. Assistant City Manager Martini.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have an invocation from Bishop Brent Forbush of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Our dear gracious Father, which art in heaven, we humbly come before thee at this time and in this opportunity to plead for thy assistance. We're thankful for the wonderful members of our community that serve and volunteer their time. We're thankful for our city council and our mayor and all of our city employees and our first responders for the time and effort and diligence they give to serving this community. Father, at this time we pray for thy guidance, thy understanding. We pray for empathy and compassion and kindness in our hearts. We pray as we go about the business of this city that we may understand thy will and be led by thy hand in what we should do. And bless our city council and our mayor as they make decisions, that they will do so in the best understanding for our city residents. We ask for a blessing upon all of our first responders, that they may be watched over and protected as they go about and executing their duties so faithfully. We ask for thy blessing in all, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Jerome, will you want to lead us in the pledge? I get to call on an audience member once in a while.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right. Let's move on to public comment. And I've been informed by the clerk that 11.1 has been asked to be pulled from this meeting. We will still hold a public hearing for it, but nothing will be acted on today. So if you're here for that and you want to comment earlier rather than wait until the end of go ahead. And I believe we have a couple people that want to do that. All right, let's move to, let's see what we got here. Mark, where's Mark Markell? Will you get back there? Let's hear some words of wisdom.
Of course. It's nice to see you. All right. A Yucaipa man was in critical condition Friday at Loma Linda University Medical Center, where he was taken for treatment of head injuries after a car crash Thursday, authorities said. Mark Markell, 24, was thrown from a 1977 Datsun as it overturned on Live Oak Canyon Road at the eastbound Interstate 10 off-ramp at 4:30 p.m., said California Highway Patrol Officer Amber Drysdale. The driver was driving south on Live Oak Canyon Road when he lost control of the car, struck a curb, and skidded into the off-ramp. The vehicle rolled over several times and landed on top of Mark Markell.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mark. And I'm here today to warn you people and show you people what can happen when you get in the car with the drunk driver. I can't walk anymore. I can't walk well. I can't. Basically, I can't walk. I have a hard time keeping my apartment clean. I've been in the hospital a couple of weeks ago. I was in there for a rehabilitation hospital for 4 weeks. And a regular hospital for 3 days. And it's been since '89. I'm still paying for it today. I fell on my head, hit my head. I'm not there. I just don't want people to get in the car with the drunk driver. Heck, if you're drunk, you're doing a bad thing anyways. Why involve somebody else? Anyways, I just wanted to warn people and show people what can happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. comes to us about every quarter to remind us of this message, and we appreciate that. All right, this next up is Debbie Mann. Just have a seat right there. Give us
I
your-
have to sit.
Well, then you got to move the mic closer. For the millions of people that are watching these city council meetings.
Okay. I am here to discuss the agenda item that was pulled, 11-1, the proposed adoption of Bill 2824. And I have been here before, as many of you know, and I just want to reiterate one more time that my community, not just the street I live in, or live on, excuse me, but my community was designed and set up with the original regulations in the handbook so that we could all survive and live as a wonderful community, not have single-story homes and have a 3-story huge building right behind their back fence. That's why it was originally designed, zoned, so that we were a cohesive community. And in changing anything in regards to that zoning will change our whole community, even if you don't live where we live. You know, I don't know where anybody lives. I know one person up here is in my community, but I don't know where you live. But I can tell you that we have submitted over 100 signatures to you, telling you we don't want it. We don't want to be overshadowed. We don't want the zoning changed. And I can honestly say, I would never come into your community knowing that you, so many people, didn't want it and force it upon you. I would never do that. Of course, that's me, and I'm here to actually, one of my neighbors that I went to get a signature for the second time because our first group of signatures was turned down. And he, to begin with, I'm a military mom, so that'll help you follow the story a little bit. And this gentleman, I explained to him while I was knocking on his door, I had never ever met him before. And I told him what was going on, and he said, "Oh, I'm an original homeowner. I know exactly what's going to go back there." And it was my turn to explain to this man that, no, we don't know for sure anymore. We need to do something. Turned out that this man, he agreed to sign for the second time on a petition. He ended up being a veteran. He said, if that goes in, I cannot move.
Thanks, Deb. Appreciate it. Your time's up. Thank you. Next up.
Thank you.
Next up is Sharon Lampel. Is it Lampel? Did I get that name right? Yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members and Mayor Lawson. My name is Sharon Lampel, and I live in the Stonebrook section of Northern Sparks. I've been here for 3 years. I have to say, I love Sparks.
So do we.
I am here to talk to you about a concern of fire danger in the flood wash behind some of the houses in our area. Specifically, I can only talk about the one that I can see from my house, and that's between Furnace Creek and Hat Creek. And when we moved in, there was some growth there, And the wash works beautifully. Every time it rains, there's a nice lake back there, and then it drains out. But now, after 3 years, there's a lot of growth. We're very concerned about the fire danger, that dry growth, now that everything is dead back there. We had ashes from the big fire a couple of weeks ago. We were worried about the fire danger. We have been contacting several, and we is myself and my other half. We left a voicemail with code enforcement. They called me back the very next day and explained that it wasn't them, but they would forward it to the maintenance department. Never heard from the maintenance department, so we started all over again, and we contacted the forestry department. We heard back from Nikhil Narketi. He copied Captain Caldwell of the Sparks Fire Department, and apparently he's leading a community wildfire preparedness for the city of Sparks, but he said it's going to take a while for this plan to get developed. Being a former educator, I understand the time that plans take to develop and implement. Captain Caldwell responded explaining that they will eventually have a fuels management plan. That'll take a while. And I think he may have been at a recent meeting. When I logged onto the meeting, I couldn't get the sound right away, so I don't know if it was the same person, but I know you had someone from the fire department either at your last meeting or the meeting before. We also emailed Councilwoman Bybee, but we haven't heard back. We've been told that the ditches don't get cleared out because they need the plants there as erosion control. So what we are asking you is to work with our partners in the fire department, whomever. There has to be a balance between erosion control and fire safety. That's what we're looking for. We don't expect them to clear all the growth out of this wash, but we think it's dangerous. So that's why we're coming to you, and maybe you can work with whoever it was from the fire department that came and spoke, but we can't be the only ones that have these washes that are overgrown. So that's it.
Thank you, Sharon.
Perfect. Thank you.
With perfect timing. Thank you.
Yes.
Art Man, if there's anyone else wishing to speak at this time, please let me know. Okay. I need you to fill out a card, give it to the clerk. Thank you. Okay.
Mine will be pretty short. I'm just here to support my wife.
That's a good husband.
Yeah. It's 46 years of paying attention. Anyway, I'm quite concerned about, what the market value is going to do to my home, of course, if something like that, especially if there's no boundaries for height. That's a big concern. But anyway, she pretty well covered everything. So that's pretty much. We like the neighborhood the way it is. I mean, yeah, I'm not against growth, but man. Anyway, thank you.
Sir, appreciate it. We up? Okay. Well, come on down, ma'am. Give us your name for the record.
I'm Michelle Zenz.
Got to make sure the millions of people out there can hear you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Zenz. That's with a Z, 2 Z's in fact. I'm actually here in support of your, on the agenda 9.4 for the 2 ordinance changes. And I have some supporters here. I don't know, if they want to stand or, because there could be some. Juan, you're a supporter. I want them to see that there are more than just me. I just want you to stand for a second. Yeah. Anyway, he's a supporter. So it's not me by myself. There was a lot of people that have emails, and I have sign-up sheets that they've come to meetings about changing the height of the fence on Los Altos. And then we also added sheds. So we're just here to show support that we are hoping that you will take that in consideration. Most of the sign-up sheets have been sent to the city of Sparks in the last 5 or 6 months from all the meetings. But if they do need them, I do have like a copy of their names of other neighbors that, or more than that, could show up. So
You want to submit that to the clerk?
Yeah, do I just give it to, okay,
Is that all?
pretty much. I mean, I already plead my case earlier this year and lost, so
Right.
I'm-
Thank you. All right, we have Bruce Foster, followed by Gene Kettler.
I'm not speaking.
Oh, Bruce said not speaking.
Okay,
It was in.
no problem. We're not going to force you.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just three topics today. Number one, as I always open up at the County Commission, welcome to Washoe County, the shopping cart capital of Nevada. Number two is that great job. I'm an avid bike rider along the Truck River corridor from Cottonwood all the way to downtown and beyond. And though it would be nice if the bathrooms weren't closed so early, as we've seen in other parts of Reno where these remain open. And then the other thing is that I walk with the Washoe GOP and have been for the last 3 weekends. And you probably have talked to a lot of your constituents that really a concern with the growth, exponential growth of Spanish Springs, of Sparks, particularly out north, and it's becoming out of control gridlock, as well as quality of life is kind of looking kind of peaked there. And then the other part is that some of you are with the Community Homeless Advisory Board, and then I did send an email. And I've been working with Paul White with Education Crusade, and he has observed in the last 7 years, 7 years ago, is about 80 homeless that have been documented, and now it's well over 1,800 homeless. And you do see that in Reno. They pretty much cleaned up that Truck River corridor, Galletti, all the way to the Auto Museum. But where are they going? They're certainly not going to the CARES campus because it's pretty dangerous there. And just wondering what the plan is to resolve the issue East Sparks, because there's quite a community out there. So these are concerns that residents are talking about, and I think we are all seeing the out of control growth that is occurring, and I know that it's putting pressure on fire department as well as other emergency service and Sparks PD as well as sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. All right, anyone else in the public wishing to speak? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. I'm looking for an approval of the agenda with the change to 11.1.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
there's no change to it.
well, I thought we were pulling it.
We still have to open it for public hearing, so it can still be on the agenda.
All right, well then, never mind. I'm still, Ms. Vanderwell,
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Mr. Dare.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, minutes, any additions, subtractions to the minutes of the last meeting? None, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott,
I move to approve the minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting for September 9th, 2024.
Ms. Spivey.
I'll second that motion.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. 7.1, Board and Commission's vacancy announcement, Sparks Arts and Culture Advisory Committee. Mr. Martini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Sparks Arts and Culture Advisory Committee has 3 vacancies for terms ending November 1st, 2026. These vacancies are for 1 visual arts representative, 1 performing arts representative, and 1 humanities representative. Applicants must be a Washoe County resident, have a full understanding of being an arts advocate, have 5 years or more experience as an arts advocate, be forward-thinking in programming of the arts, and have prior experience on a nonprofit or government board. Applications for this position will be accepted until Friday, October 18th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Persons interested in applying can go to our website at www.cityofsparks.us/get involved. Simply complete the volunteer application form and hit submit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's move on to 7.2, Veterans of Foreign Wars Day. I think that's you guys. You guys look like veterans of foreign war. Paul has a proclamation to read, and then afterwards we can say a few words.
All right. Whereas Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, VFW, was founded in 1899 by a small group of veterans whom returned from campaigns on Cuba and in the Philippines, banded together to create a veterans organization that would advocate on behalf of all veterans. And whereas the VFW is a nonprofit veteran service organization comprised of eligible veterans, military service members from active, Guard, and Reserve forces, and whereas the VFW's mission is to foster camaraderie among United States veterans of overseas conflicts, to serve our veterans, the military, our communities, and to advocate on behalf of those veterans. And whereas, since its inception, the VFW has been instrumental in the establishment of Veterans Administration, the National Cemetery System, and the creation of every National Veteran Memorial. And whereas the VFW has played a vital role in virtually every significant piece of veteran legislation passed in the 20th and 21st centuries, to include the Honoring Our Pact Act, the most significant expansion of veterans' benefits in history. And whereas the VFW Silver State Post 3396, located in the city of Sparks, was founded on the 12th day of May, 1941, and continues the traditions of honoring the fallen by assisting the living. And whereas the VFW's 125th anniversary is being observed on September 29, 2024, this date shall officially be known as VFW Day. And now, therefore, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, do hereby proclaim September 29th as VFW Day. In honor of VFW's Day, invaluable contributions to the veteran community in the City of Sparks and around the world, we hereby stand with the VFW to ensure veterans are respected for their service, always receive their earned entitlements, and are recognized for the sacrifices they and their loved ones have made on behalf of this great country. Thank you.
Do an extra paragraph. Give us your name for the record, David.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is David Souza. For the record, my name is David Souza, National Councilman from the Veterans of Foreign Wars, United States. This Saturday, VFW Post and the communities around the globe will celebrate an amazing milestone, the 125th birthday of the greatest veterans organization in the world, or what I like to say. For 125 years, the Veterans of Foreign Wars had a mandate of service to our nation and to all those who protect and defend it. Through this mandate, the VFW has made an invaluable difference in the lives of generations upon generations of veterans, service members, and their families. With tenacious resolve we still have today, continue to fight to ensure that Americans' lives are obligated for care and those who put their lives on the line in defense of the way of life. Veterans from several different conflicts, Spanish-American War and several others, bound together in 1899 to put us together. And the founders were like many of you, ordinary citizens who became extraordinary because of their willingness to make a difference, to stand up and to make things right for those who deserve it most. Now, for 125 years, the Veterans of Foreign Wars has held true to its founding principles and remained unwavering in its advocacy efforts for the veterans in their service. No one does more for veterans than the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And while our mission remains, the VFW has evolved into a multifaceted organization. The VFW has a variety of programs that continue to grow and evolve in order to meet the offering a variety of programs and services aimed at meeting the needs of those who serve in our local community. Today, I'm joined here with Department Commander Jerome Washington, representing the 1.6 million members of the Veterans of Foreign Wars and Auxiliary. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. He didn't let you speak, Jerome?
Mr. Mayor, it's David. You know, he likes to speak, but I just want to say on behalf of the veterans that we represent, I personally thank you all for the work that we have done together. We partnered on several occasions over the years with suicide prevention and community service, and I'm thankful that you all are a friend of the VFW, and all that you do as well. And we have pins here that they're not my pins, so we might pass them out, but we will definitely want to just thank you for this day and your time.
Christopher, you have something?
Yeah, I just want to say for, again, our million people listening and anybody in here, but to you guys, is we know there's nothing that happens with our veterans in this community without your handprint on it. You guys give a lot of time and a lot of support to our veterans. And so we thank you personally. I don't believe our veterans would be where they're at today in our community without the VFW. And so thank you, and it's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Give them to you.
Okay. You guys are gonna step over here and we're gonna take a picture to post. Pretty cool pin. I like it. Yeah. All right, let's move on to 7.3, proclamation Walk to School Day. You have that, Christopher?
I do, thank you. Thank you. I'll go and read this, and then if you want to share something. It says, whereas parents driving children to school can account for up to 25% of the morning rush hour traffic in the vicinity of schools, and whereas walking and bicycling to school reduces the number of vehicle trips in the vicinity of schools and potential conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians or bicyclists, and whereas reducing the number of vehicles driving students to school results in increased safety, reduced traffic congestion, improved air quality, and thus fuel consumption in the vicinity of schools, whereas the benefits related to physical activity at an early age play a leading role in reducing rates of heart disease, diabetes, and other obesity-related health problems among children, and whereas children walking and bicycling to school, together with parents and caregivers, opens opportunities to mentor children about pedestrian and bicycle safety and its benefits related to health and the environment, whereas walking and bicycling to school offers an opportunity to build physical activity in both parents and children's daily routines. Now, therefore, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, proclaims Wednesday, October 9, 2024 as International Walk to School Day in the City of Sparks and encourages citizens of Sparks to walk or bicycle with their children to school while celebrating the benefits of increased safety, health on this day. And I do want to say that we love this day. We like coming down and being a part of it. And our mayor likes bringing his big motorcycle, actually, usually. So it's kind of a fun day. We really enjoy getting to support that.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer Iveson. I'm coordinator for Safe Routes to School with the Washoe County School District. Thank you for having us today and celebrating the joys of walking together with us. Walk to School Day, of course, is an international event that thousands of schools throughout the country participate in. It's a great time for us to remind students and families about the importance of regular activity and how much fun it is to walk and bike to school. It's also an opportunity for us to share safety messages that are also reinforced in classrooms throughout the month. We've had a dozen events this month, and we have 3 more in the next 2 weeks. We would love to invite you to join us at Dunn Elementary School on October 2nd. We'll be meeting at Van Meter Park at 8:30 and walking to school together. We would love to have you. We know that you guys support us, and we greatly appreciate that. Thank you again for today's proclamation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from, go ahead, Paul.
Thank you for everything you're doing, and I just want to throw this out there like a public service announcement. You were talking about safety, that you're talking to the students about that. I just want to put it out there for, again, the millions of viewers that are tuned in. In this last week, I've had 3 different group of parents in different parts of Sparks voice their concerns about people that are driving super fast where the kids are walking to and from school. So I just say, please, let's be a little patient, leave a little early, and just when you see little kids around, whether or not the lights are flashing, move over a lane if you can, or slow down, which is even better. So with that, I thank you for what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We're lucky we have a great relationship with the Sparks Police Department. We work with them. Our program has 5 speed radar trailers, so if you see school zones that we can fit our trailers at, we would love to have them placed at that school. So just email us or contact Sparks Police Department and they'll contact us.
Thank you.
Boulevard.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 7.4, Fire Prevention Week. Do we have anyone here for this? We got room for you in the front row here. Come on down. Back further.
Good job, James. Lead the way.
All right, who has Fire Prevention Week?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the City of Sparks is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are where people are at the greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires cause approximately 2,800 civilian deaths in the United States in 2021, according to the National Fire Protection Association. With U.S. fire departments responding to 338,000 home fires, reinforcing the importance of fire prevention education, and whereas smoke alarms play a vital role in reducing fire-related deaths and injuries, as working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in a reported home fire by half. And whereas the 2024 Fire Prevention Week theme, Smoke Alarms Make Them Work for You, serves as a reminder that ensuring smoke alarms are properly installed, maintained, and functional can save lives in the event of a fire. And whereas the City of Sparks encourages all residents to take steps to install smoke alarms on every level of their home, test them monthly, replace batteries yearly, and ensure smoke alarms are less than 10 years old for optimal function. And whereas first responders in the City of Sparks dedicate their lives to protecting life and property through fire prevention, safety education, and emergency response efforts, and are working to reduce the occurrence of home fires and related deaths and injuries through increased awareness of fire safety. And now, therefore, I, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, do hereby proclaim October 6th through the 12th, 2024, as Fire Prevention Week in Sparks, and urge all citizens to recognize the importance of smoke alarms and to participate in public safety activities and events at local fire stations to ensure their smoke alarms are working properly, making their homes and families safer from fire hazards.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Lawson. Council member, for the record, Patrick Chu, the Fire Marshal for the Sparks Fire Department. I want to thank everybody for being here today, especially Engine and Trike 11 and Acting Assistant Fire Marshal James Reckham. So this was memorialized by a 30th President, Calvin Coolidge, in the 1920s in memory of the Great Chicago Fire back in 1871, the first week of October. About 300 lives were lost, and approximate property value today at $5.7 billion, if it was estimated today. So as the theme, as we mentioned, it was Make Smoke Alarm Work. The reason for that is 60% of all the fire death this year was as a result of unoperable smoke detector, 60%. So that's the reason why that's the theme for 2024. So thank you.
Thank you. Chief, you got anything to add?
Mayor Lawson, members of council, Walt White, Fire Chief, just like to thank you for taking the time to recognize this week for
what it is. And I just want to also commend the staff that we have that, they don't get the glamorous job, and it's really hard to quantify what you prevent, but they're kind of our unsung heroes out there by whether it's through fire inspections or plan review or code enforcement. They save lives through prevention, and we're very appreciative of that. So thank you.
Anyone? Christopher?
Yeah, can you talk about pancakes for a minute? And, I mean, not that we just want to get hungry, but you guys do an amazing job for our community to actually go through some of these.
Well, Pat and I will both be talking about pancakes on KOL Thursday. But the upcoming pancake breakfast is this Saturday at Station 4 this year.
Yes.
So we've moved it for the first time in kind of the history of this event, but it's the 34th annual pancake breakfast, open to the public, and we'd love to see everyone there.
Well, and the reason I want to bring that up too, one of the things you do so well at that is that you do a lot of training to children and a lot of the safety things. I know that this fire alarm things are, they're set up and people can go see it. So if you're out in the community and you have any questions about it, Saturday, go eat a pancake, and then you can learn a lot about this stuff as well.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Just to reiterate, it's going to be at Station 4 this year, which is the first time. I'm sure we still get a few people knocking the door on Station 1 since it's been there for so long, but we're going to give it a try here at Station 4 this year.
Fantastic.
All right, anyone else? Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it. Thank you. Well, let's get a picture real quick. Yeah. This was a new beard trimmer accident. New beard trimmer accident. I noticed you right here first.
Don't shoot me, I'm just a messenger.
That way just a little bit.
My 2 cents know about it. Yeah.
Well, hey, it's Donald.
It's my fault.
Thank you.
Are you doing domestic violence?
Okay. He stole it from me. It's his,
What kind of
it's
guy?
his
baby.
He brought it to be put on the meeting. I just know the gal presenting, so
Okay,
we're presenting it to.
all right.
He asked me to come up with something.
Okay, 7.5 is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the city of Sparks recognizes domestic violence as a crime that negatively impacts every level of our society and destroys families and the fabric of a community, and whereas the city of Sparks recognizes that domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse, and whereas the city of Sparks recognizes that when children are involved, domestic violence perpetrators' choices to be violent and abusive are criminal acts that often have devastating and far-reaching adverse impacts on the safety and well-being of children, including lifelong repercussions from the emotional and physical trauma of being exposed to domestic violence. And whereas the City of Sparks City Attorney's Office continues their In the Silence of Domestic Violence initiative, which combats domestic violence by standing up for survivors and their children, by passing new laws within the city to more effectively prosecute cases, training law enforcement personnel, engaging in trauma-informed practices, and maintaining a zero-tolerance policy that upholds the dignity of survivors while also holding abusers accountable. Whereas the City of Sparks recognizes that victim survivors should have help to find the compassion, support, resources, comfort, and healing they need. And whereas the City of Sparks reaffirms its dedication to eradicating domestic violence within the city by standing up for victim survivors, partnering with law enforcement, aggressively prosecuting cases, working with domestic violence advocates and victim survivor service providers, and speaking out against domestic violence. Now, therefore, I, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and join with partner agencies across the City of Sparks and Washoe County in supporting victim survivors of domestic violence and urge all residents to actively participate in sending a loud and clear message to abusers that domestic violence is not tolerated in the city of Sparks.
Okay, give us your name for the record.
My name is, do I have this on? Yeah. My name is Kristen Kennedy. I'm the Executive Director of the Domestic Violence Resource Center. And I just want to, on behalf of the work that we do in our agency, I just want to thank you, Mayor Lawson, and all the council members for bringing visibility to this issue and resources and your commitment to ending domestic violence in our community. We definitely could not do the work we do without your amazing law enforcement officers and without Wes Duncan and the city attorney's office and the great work that they're doing to end the silence on domestic violence, and to all of you. So thank you very much. I do want to mention that with Domestic Violence Awareness Month being October, we have an event. It's a collaboration of many different agencies throughout our community, Reno and Sparks, on October 5th at Wingfield Park from 11 to 1. It's open to the public. So can show up and get resources, learn a little bit about the work that everybody in our community is doing, and support survivors and victims of domestic abuse. Nevada ranks second in the nation for incidents of domestic violence. So when you have these proclamations and put the resources that you do towards ending domestic violence, it helps us move that dial. So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Kristen, for being here and for the work that you do. And I think that, and I also want to thank Wes Duncan and the City Attorney's Office for really looking at our penalties and tolerance for all crime, but for domestic violence, so important that we send that message that it won't be tolerated in our city and there are repercussions. But I think years ago, I did a little bit of work with Silent Witness, which was a program that had figurines that had on the breastplate. So it's quite a while ago, but life-size cutouts of domestic violence victims, and it gave on the breastplate their name, their age, and the circumstances. And not having ever worked in that arena or really understanding, I mean, none of us would support domestic violence, but it was amazing to me. It crosses all demographics. It crosses all ages. We had one that was a 70-year-old woman from Elko. We had a 15-year-old girl. We had, and if that summer at a conference, Nicole Brown Simpson's sister was there. And so it doesn't matter where you live in the fanciest house in your neighborhood or in the city or not, it crosses all those lines. And it was just a wake-up call for me that it exists. And for all of us, really should be also aware and try to step in and help people, because often when you're a victim, it's hard for them to leave that situation. So I think the support, not just we as a city, but individually as we know people or we come upon people that are in those situations, that any help that we can have to give them strength to get the help and the resources they need. It's in every neighborhood, unfortunately, in every city in this country. And it's sobering to think that we're number 2 in the whole country of domestic violence. So hopefully awareness like this and the laws that we're changing will help make a difference in the positive direction. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Duncan.
And I just did want to just recognize, Kristen, the efforts of the Domestic Violence Resource Center and partnering both with law enforcement and with our office. We all can't do our job unless we're all working together. So we appreciate your advocates and the programming, and big things hopefully on the horizon for DVRC. I want to recognize too, we've got Mary Villasenor, who's our victim advocate, who's on the front lines every day with our domestic violence survivors, Nancy Ortiz as well, who's in our criminal section, and Zadora Hightower, Anna Swanson, and Odalis Rodriguez in our office that are on the front lines of this. And then also one thing that wasn't mentioned, but Chief Crawforth and Sparks Police partnered with our office, and we implemented the first of its kind in this region of a danger assessment, which we think is a game changer in terms of trying to figure out lethality in certain domestic violence cases. And so I think you have a willing partner in this city with our council and passing laws, and with the law enforcement partner, and of course our office, that will continue to redouble our efforts to try to eradicate domestic violence. So thanks for being a good partner, and we're going to continue to do what we can to bring the numbers down in our community.
I
Thanks.
look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep, thank you. All right, we have a presentation now, 7.6 from Truckee Meadows Tomorrow.
That is me. I think we're just logging
Pulling up
in.
the presentation.
A lot of proclamations made it go away temporarily. Of course.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Erin Hannah Boutros-Meyering, for the record, and I'm grateful I only have to say that once because it is quite the last name. I'm the executive director of Truckee Meadows Tomorrow. We are TMT for short, Truckee Meadows Tomorrow. We've been around in the community for over 35 years. So really as a cornerstone of quality of life data for all of Northern Nevada, and particularly Washoe County. As a nonprofit, we serve as a vital hub, providing free access to valuable data for the community and its stakeholders so that they can make better informed decisions to improve our community well-being. And it's funny, as I sit here and I hear all of the public comment and really all of the agenda items, they all convene around one area, which is quality of life. So the fact that we are measuring that data and sort of acting as a hub for that really just shows how widespread it is. So we also manage a site on, it's called Nevada Tomorrow, and we have over 450 data indicators, and they're all grouped by 10 quality of life areas, everything from health statistics to economic trends. I really encourage everyone to take a look at our website, nevadatomorrow.org. We're really community driven. So we have data that's vetted by a 45+ member data advisory group, and that group is always growing. Those group members are comprised of local leaders and organizations, really to just ensure that data is clean data, it's good data. Our number one thing is we're accessible. So despite the laborious efforts that it takes to maintain all that data, we are free and available to community members, to organizations, to governments. So this is a little screenshot of Nevada Tomorrow. I've also included a QR code and then the link, and this is all accessible through the agenda site as well, posted. One interesting thing about Nevada Tomorrow and about Truckee Meadows Tomorrow is that you can build a custom dashboard measuring any sort of data indicators that you wish and really narrowing that down to the city of Sparks. So here's a little snapshot. We measure data again throughout Washoe County, but that includes Sparks. So we really believe that Sparks is going to be the cornerstone of this full conversation. You know, we can't do it without you. So for example, this would be a health indicator surrounding cancer, adults with cancer. The site is really easy to use, and it basically tracks information, anything that we collect or that census data collects, you're able to track trends within Nevada Tomorrow. So one of the big issues, that I'm sure you could speak to over anyone else is that tackling big community issues can be daunting. Emotions can take over, stakeholders see things differently. One thing that data does is it's sort of the great equalizer. We're completely unbiased with our data, so we don't believe in taking a stance on any of that data, rather convening people around data so that we can be having those conversations, agree on maybe what progress looks like, and then moving forward from there. So we have a team of specialists now. Again, I'm Erin. I'm the director of I'm the executive director of Truckee Meadows Tomorrow. But we also have a team of operations, community outreach, and data specialists. I'm lucky to be supported behind me by our data scientist, Will, and then we also have a wonderful board of directors with our board president, Edward, as well here. And with collaborative sponsors throughout the community who also support these data-driven solutions. Really, it takes a village to, make these big changes within the community, and convening around data, getting everyone in the same room to agree on what that looks like is the first start. So our community is growing. Reno-Sparks region, this is the number I pulled, 540,000 and growing all the time. So why we do what we do? Because we've been in the community for decades, and really we're the oldest quality of life organization in the nation, which, I heard you mention for domestic violence, we're number 49. Quality of life, I think we can all agree we're not 49, right? We love where we live. So we really think that everyone, here kind of can rally around that, but also we're all working to improve it in our own ways. Our vision is to really be a reliable asset and catalyst for positive change in the community. So moving from sort of a data hub, compiling all that information, still doing that, but now transferring into this space where we can get those conversations going, remaining unbiased, but allowing folks who have a stake in solving that problem to be in the same room with one another. And we believe the City of Sparks, again, is going to be a cornerstone in that. And so we hope to continue these conversations. And I'm just here to not only introduce TMT and Truckee Meadows Tomorrow, but also to see where there might be some streamlines in the future. I've included my contact information, and I just really appreciate the time and attention today.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
Questions from the council? Anybody? Christopher?
Oh, yeah, sure. You said there's a dashboard, and so in the future, if our team so chose, is there a way to take that dashboard and kind of keep certain stats just up, where they're just automatically are getting fed into that?
Absolutely. So we maintain several custom dashboards for various clients throughout the region, and that would be something that we could also potentially offer. The idea really would be to get the various, areas on the same page with that dashboard and all be tracking the same data, and it's from incredibly reliable sources. So yes, you could even experiment with that yourself, and then we could build something for you.
Well, thank you for this. One of the things we constantly are doing is looking into the future, trying
Sure.
to read the tea leaves, so data's good. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Erin?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to your new position.
Thank
So,
you. I appreciate it.
I imagine a lot of work to get started.
Yes, absolutely.
And I was just wondering, can you tell us a little bit about like the funding for the program, and likewise, how do people contact you guys for more information on how to utilize your services, likewise help you with funding, things like that?
Sure. So we get our funding from a variety of sources, primarily private sponsors at this point, but we're really looking forward to potentially looking into working with on the public sphere a little bit more, because there are so many crossovers. TruckyMeadowsTomorrow.org is our website, and all our additional information is on there. You're also welcome to email me to find out more information. One of the things I didn't mention that is really a key part of all of this is being able to tell better stories around data, because that's something that, so many places do have access to data, maybe smaller nonprofits do not. That's part of why we provide free data. Also, preparing people and educating people on how to combine that data with narrative so that that story is really told in a more efficient way, and create that change.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Charlene?
So Aaron, kind of following up what Councilman Anderson was talking about, the average person, either watching us or us sitting here, how do we get, I saw, is it the Nevada Tomorrow or Truckee Meadows Tomorrow? If we wanted to simply, anyone can go in and just look at the data that you've collected, and then we can key in on things that are of interest to us and track things, or just where would the average person go in to just grab that information and then use it as they choose?
Sure. So there's several areas that they could go. Truckee Meadows Tomorrow is the nonprofit site that we maintain. We have sort of laid out a lot of the top indicators onto a variety of quality of life dashboards, if you will, to measure some of the top things that folks would be interested in. Simultaneously, the larger site that tracks those 450 indicators is nevadatomorrow.org, and there it's where you're able to create custom dashboards. One other thing, we are releasing our community progress report, which is sort of a conglomeration of all of that data, and really dives into those indicators a little bit more, and that'll be out this fall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right. Well, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's move on to consent items. Anyone wishing to pull a consent item? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson.
Move to approve consent items 8.1 and 8.2 as submitted.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, 9.1. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a resolution number 3452, updating the city policy relating to the application and acceptance of grants and the acceptance of donated property other than real property.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Mel Evans, your grants administrator, for the record. The purpose of this agenda item brought before you today is to modify a city procedure so that staff is positioned to be in compliance with its own written policy. Currently, due to frequent, short, and imposed deadlines, grant applications are being submitted without council approval for projects with more than a $50,000 match, which is out of compliance with Resolution 3234 approved in 2013. With your approval, this new resolution would allow city staff, under the city manager's direction, to apply for any grant, regardless of match, ensuring deadlines are met and staff is in compliance with city policy. To be very clear and in the spirit of full transparency, for the actual grant award, City Council would still make that decision to accept or reject the grant with this new resolution in place for grants with a cost-sharing commitment over $100,000, which is in alignment with the city manager's new signature authority. Would allow the city manager to direct staff to allocate human resources for the purpose of applying for any grant that seems reasonable and in alignment with the city's goals and planned projects. There is no recommended change to the gift or donation portion of Resolution 324 from 2013. Sections 1 through 3 are identical. The text has just been duplicated into this new resolution. And this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from the council? Mr. Anderson.
Mel, so if I'm hearing this correctly, we are actually missing out on some grants because of the timing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, in our best judgment, we have chosen to apply for grants so that we would not miss out on them. But we want to set ourselves up for success. So right now, we're out of compliance with our own policy. For that very reason, Councilman, we don't want to miss an opportunity. So we've sort of made that decision and asked for forgiveness later. But we want to set ourselves up to do the right thing. We have policy in place to follow it.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mr. Dare.
Yeah, and I think that clarifies what I just wanted anybody in the community listening. We want to make sure we are ready and poised to move forward and not miss out on anything. And sometimes because of timing right now, we're finding that to be true, and we don't want that, or at least in the future, we definitely don't want that. So anybody out there listening, we are very aware of what's happening. We're staying in step with our city manager. This just allows things to move a little quicker when needed. Is that fair?
That's correct. And it's on the application side, one more time, just to reiterate, it's not on the award side. You always have that ability. We've had very rare circumstances, one in the last year where, due to a technical issue, we were having to accept an award, but we, of course, always go back to council, even though it was after the fact. We never spend $1 without your approval.
Thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely.
All right, well, with that, then I am looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
I move to approve resolution number 3452, updating city policy relating to the application and acceptance of grants and the acceptance of donated property other than real property.
Mr. Anderson.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mel, you got another one?
I do.
9.2, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the United We Stand Grant Agreement AC 6067, Sub-Award 25-UWS-02 in the amount of $10,879.02 to purchase ballistic plates, carriers, and helmets.
Again, thank you, Mayor and Council. Melissa Evans, your grants administrator for the record. Pinch hitting for Deputy Chief Jacobus today, who is been deployed to Wyoming for wildfire fighting. The item you have before you is a request for your approval to accept a grant to purchase critically needed safety equipment, which will be used by the Fire Rescue Task Force and the new Station 6 personnel when the station becomes operational in the fall of 2025. Each year, about $30,000 is available from the Nevada State Emergency Response Commission and approved by the Washoe County Board of Supervisors. The awards are allocated by the Washoe County Local Emergency Planning Committee, which is LEPC. This year, there were only 3 applicants, and so the monies were divided 3 ways. You may recall that this grant was awarded to PD last year for the Colt rifles in the amount of $17,762. No matching funds are required, and this concludes my presentation. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions from the council? Okay, and I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I move to approve the United We Stand Grant Agreement AC-6067, Subaward 25-UWS-02 in the amount of $10,879.02 to purchase ballistic plates, carriers, and helmets.
Ms. Bybee.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. 9.3, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a 3-year lease agreement AC 6064 with Greg Street Investors LLC for a storage facility located at 10 Greg Street, unit numbered 120, to house reserve fire apparatus and logistics supplies for a cost not to exceed $188,484. Chief.
Mayor Lawson, members of council, Walt White, Fire Chief, City of Sparks. This warehouse space on Greg Street would allow us to house several pieces of apparatus, a couple pieces of reserve or antique equipment, as well as some logistical supplies that ultimately go to Station 6. We have more apparatus than we can house in our existing stations. And this is apparatus that we can't afford to surplus yet because we still use it as reliable mechanical reserve. So the breakdown would be for a 3-year lease agreement between Greg Street Investors LLC and the City of Sparks for a storage unit located at 10 Greg Street, Unit 120. The annual cost over 3 years would be fiscal year 25, $60,984, fiscal year 26, $62,808, and fiscal year 27, $64,692 respectively. Seeking your consideration, staff's recommendation is to approve the lease agreement so that we can house our necessary apparatus in a covered storage.
Question from the council, Ms. Spivey.
So Chief, I mean, I obviously get the need into protecting our equipment and, in a more climate controlled and not jamming all of our fire departments right now with extra equipment, and that just makes sense. So this is a 3-year lease, so you'll be looking at longer-term capital project to build our own building sometime in the future. Is that the direction you want to move in, or for right? Because this is just 3 years, and we'll let to be determined if we would renew that, or if we'd look at building our own. Kind of what are your plans?
Well, we have currently 5 stations. The 6th one should be open or operational roughly 1 year from today, September of 25. That still won't accommodate all of our current apparatus and mechanical reserve apparatus, because we have somewhat of an older fleet. We have all total roughly 50 pieces of equipment, but some of those are smaller command response vehicles that do routinely get stored outside. But we do have larger apparatus that, if it's not covered, especially through the harsh winters, would greatly reduce its service life. So we feel that we probably will need a longer-term solution, a warehouse space, or debt finance construction of a logistics type building in the future. But this is our kind of more immediate, accessible plan to take care of that equipment now.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Thank you, Chief. I have 2 questions. First of all, what is the square footage of the unit?
That's a great question, and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. And then also, there is a multi-tenant year lease in our package, but it is not filled out. So,
I know some of that, had to go to review to
okay,
city attorneys, because there's,
well, it
we
looks
have
like
to,
there's some
there's an acknowledgement.
cross-out language too.
There's an
Okay.
acknowledgement that the building is actually in a floodplain, but then again, so is our fire station on Craig Street, so.
All right.
I think in the agenda, it had all the information in there. I saw it on the agenda, but it's not in our packet today.
Okay, I'll look into that or follow up on that.
Okay, because we didn't see the square footage. I'm concerned, I just like to know square footage, especially when we're paying over $5,000 a month rent on it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Understand.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yeah, Chief. So is that the apparatus like we're not moving downtown station, like the Station 1's apparatus, that's right there. So is that one at Station 4 that was outside?
Exactly, that
one?
was stored in the Connex box.
Yep.
So there are 2 pieces of antique equipment, roughly about 6 pieces of apparatus that will all fit inside this warehouse structure.
And then on the logistics, are we moving everything from Station 1 to this spot?
No.
Or, okay, it's
No,
just an
but
extra?
it's just surplus apparatus that is still needed as mechanical reserve, so we can't actually sell or surplus it. We would have a covered storage area for it, so that should any of our frontline apparatus need scheduled maintenance, break down, need repair, while it's getting repaired, we would retrieve a suitable reserve equipment to go into frontline operation during that downtime.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mr. Dare.
I'd also say one of the values of this is we've all been down to the fix-it shop. I don't know the right name for it, but it's where, and our fire engines barely fit in there anyway. And so if we have multiple needs, we have a place to put that while the other one's getting fixed. And so I see the value in having that kind of storage that you guys can utilize, where we don't have something sitting outside that should not be. So
Yeah, we have at least 1 piece of apparatus that's wrapped and stored outside right now, so.
that's exactly my point. So there's a wisdom in this, and I know some of the details are helpful, but if we did some of the square footage of these vehicles, you're talking about how many vehicles you're talking about putting in there?
I think roughly 6 pieces of apparatus plus some additional logistical supplies that will ultimately go into Station 6 when we're ready to go operational.
And anybody listening, if one of those machines breaks, it's going to be a lot more expensive than the little bit we're paying for.
Having them outside even wrapped would dramatically reduce the overall service life of the apparatus.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, then I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
I move to approve the 3-year lease agreement, AC 6064, between the City of Sparks and Gregg Street Investors LLC for the storage facility located at 10 Gregg Street, Unit 120, for the storage of reserve fire apparatus and logistical supplies for a cost not to exceed $188,484.
Mr. Abbott.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Chief. 9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible direction to the city manager to, 1, initiate changes to Title 20 of the Sparks Municipal Code regarding regulations respected to allow location of accessory structures 200 square feet or less in area, and 2, initiate a amendment to the Kylie Ranch South Plan Development Handbook to increase the height of residential fences from 6 feet to 8 feet when the residents back up to an arterial roadway. Danny.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Danny Ray, Senior Planner. At the June 24th, 2024 City Council meeting, you, Councilman Dare, did request that the city manager provide the City Council the opportunity to amend the section of the Sparks Municipal Code regulating accessory structures 200 square feet or less in area, and amend that Kylie Ranch South Handbook to allow the residential fencing of up to 8 feet in height for residences where rear yards back up to an arterial roadway. Current regulations within the Sparks Municipal Code for accessory structures that are 200 square feet or less in area, such as tool sheds and playhouses, require the structures to be set back 3 feet from the rear and side property lines and 5 feet from the main residence. The code setback requirements are generally designed to protect adjacent properties from intrusion of unwanted drainage, reduction of fire hazard as more space lies between structures, and to provide increased light and air between structures, as well as increased landscaping. The code's setback requirements are generally, residential fencing throughout the city of Sparks is limited also to a maximum height of 6 feet per the Sparks Municipal Code. This includes fences that back up to arterial roadways such as McCarran Boulevard, Vista Boulevard, and Sparks Boulevard. The Kylie Ranch South Handbook also limits residential rear yard fences to 6 feet in height, and the handbook provides specific development standards as to materials, color, and design for fencing throughout the planned development. Materials and design requirements vary by location. The City Council has not historically initiated amendments to handbooks, but has initiated amendments to Title 20 of the Sparks Municipal Code. Should the City Council want to maintain this approach, a consideration is to direct staff to amend the Sparks Municipal Code for potential increased residential fence heights when backing up to an arterial roadway. This would apply to all areas outside of handbooks, leaving individual stakeholders the opportunity to apply for modifications to regulations in their respective plan development handbooks, as has been done historically. Should this be your direction, future handbook amendments could simply reference the municipal code rather than having to create the amendment language for each individual handbook that desires such a change. Should the council choose to sponsor an amendment to the Kylie Ranch South Handbook, the city's general fund would be responsible for the following fees and deposits. Amendment deposit is $5,000 credited toward actual staff time. A noticing deposit of $500 credited toward actual noticing costs. and Northern Nevada public health fee of $1,410. Should the City Council choose to amend the Sparks Municipal Code, the one-time cost would be limited to posting of the agenda and associated newspaper publishing costs. So staff does recommend that the City Council direct the city manager to initiate changes to the code sections that regulate both accessory structures of 200 square feet or less and residential fence height for residences that back onto a residential or a arterial roadway. And with that, this concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions.
Mr. Dare.
Yeah, I first want to thank all the staff for working on this and talking about it, and I know we're walking on some areas that some of this has not been done, so I recognize that. A couple of things I want to share. One, my ask is that we do sponsor this. I just want to say that out clear so people know. And part of it, especially for the back fence, I don't believe that Los Altos is what we expected when this thing was built. It is, I'm there quite a bit. That's obviously my ward. And I would just say that, in my opinion, that it is, the traffic there is something that our city created something outside of the normal box of what was expected by anybody who lives in that area. And so for us to step up and make our city right is a wise idea. And so that is an easy one. The sheds is another one, since I've been out there quite a bit. I understand the need to make sure that we are not pouring water into another yard, and some of those things are very, very real, and I don't question that. This particular thing, if you go out in their yards, it almost puts that shed, in my opinion, right in the middle of the yard instead of being able to be used. And I just say this, if you walk around, which I do, it ends up making it to where most everybody has a shed where they should not supposed to have a shed. And so if you stop and look at this, and obviously we only do this if someone complains on each other, is the idea. I think it's a lot of work for our staff to follow up on something that might have some better answers. I do not believe that we should have no regulations, because based upon what I've learned, you guys do a very good job, and there's reasons that you have questions. But my thought is that we could put, even one of those water troughs that help pour there could be some stipulations
Rain gutter.
on that. So anyway, I'll be done.
A rain gutter.
A rain gutter, thank you. A rain gutter. So I just want to share, these are my thoughts, and why I asked for both of these to be in there. The road to me is an obvious one for me. The sheds seem like common sense to me.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Thank you. Coming from Planning Commission, I feel that both of these, if we're going to discuss these, that we don't discuss it just for one area or one neighborhood, that it is for the whole city. Reasoning is I can give an example also as far as fencing. I was at a constituent that backs up to the expansion of Pyramid Highway, and there is a walk path, and when people walk up the path, they can look straight into their backyard. So as far as fencing, if we're going to look at something like that, I would prefer that it be a citywide ordinance look at, because the issue with fences and the height is not just special to the Kiley Ranch. I mean, we have areas that back up McCarran and also Pyramid. I think they would like to be able to have their fences 8 feet versus 6 feet up against an arterial like that. Regarding the storage sheds, my concern with this one is if we do not do these setbacks, that there are easements for utilities and also the city of Sparks, and that if we allow someone to put it into an easement, then what we're going to have to do is when we go to utility has to do something, then that has to be moved or taken out. So that's my concern regarding that. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Ms. Spivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would agree with Councilwoman Vanderwell on, I don't want to see this just done for one development. I think one reason I don't want to see the city be paying for the amount if we're just changing their handbook, and there are costs with that. But more importantly, it applies across the city for arterials from McCarran, Pyramid. In my ward, it would be Vista, Sparks Boulevard. I mean, there's a lot of arterials that would be affected, and I just think it's easier to make that, and I think I fully support going to the 8-foot on our arterials if that's what a development or a builder wants to do, that I'm fine with that on our arterials, especially with the amount of traffic we get and the speed that people are driving. So really, the higher fences make sense. I'm really confused on the shed, because in the motion and in our agenda item information, it states what our current setbacks are, but it doesn't offer what, are we going to just eliminate those entirely so there would be no setbacks? And I'm concerned, as Councilwoman Vanderwill just brought up, of what the ramifications of that would be. So I don't know, because I'm not clear of, or is that something we have to determine from the dais here, if those setbacks are different, or if they're just, are you asking us to eliminate those setbacks altogether on the sheds? I guess that's my question.
Council Member Bybee, very, very good question. Currently, accessory structures of 200 square feet or less don't even require a building permit. So staff doesn't even know when they get installed. But we do have zoning requirements of the 3 feet from the property lines and 5 feet from the house. Also, the property owner should know they should not be placing them in easements. They should be aware of their easements and not placing them there. In terms of an alternative dimension, staff was not provided any guidance by Councilmember Dare. It was really to investigate changing those setbacks. So that would be part of the study going forward, is what would impacts be, what would our best recommendation be after analysis of various setbacks? Would it be 0? Would it be 1 foot, 2 feet? We don't know at this point. Yeah.
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Danny, for the report here. And I just want to basically echo what has already been said. I don't believe that we should be going and making changes to individual handbooks. In this case being Kylie Ranch South or any other. I really think if we're going to make changes, we need to make changes citywide. So that's my opinion, that it needs to be a Title 20 change to the entire city. And likewise, I'm concerned, so now I'll put this back to Councilman Dare on what he's looking for here. I'm concerned about having no restrictions on the storage sheds. Yes, I understand if they're 20 or 200 square feet or smaller, not having any regulations, but I don't know. I just feel if we leave it too vague that it could get us in trouble. So, thank you.
Mr. Abbott.
Yes, thanks, Danny. Thanks for being here. I had a question on how many, do you know off the top of your head how many handbooks we have in our whole city?
We have 44 handbooks.
I figured it was gonna be a large number. So I do agree with a few of my colleagues. I think it's best for us to look at our whole city, because I could see us maybe setting some precedent if we do this one and there's 43 other calling next.
44 changes.
Well, we'd have one, so yeah.
43.
Sparks eye math.
Yes.
Save $6,500.
That's right.
Mr. Dare.
And I do want to say that I don't disagree with you guys at all, with our colleagues. I mean, I think you guys make sense, but to do nothing at all for anything doesn't also make sense. So to me, I'm probably pulling the thread that gets things maybe moving on the conversation about fence, because I do agree that, I mean, and I'm only responsible for, I mean, I hear from our ward, and so I'm just coming saying, we have a real problem here, and so how we move forward, and I do understand the handbook issue, I think it becomes very difficult. Now, I can say if there's an HOA involved, it becomes a little easier in a sense, because you can say, HOA, if you want it, then you buck up the finances, you do. But a lot of places don't have HOAs. And so now we have individual, and in this particular, no different than probably some of your areas, you have a house that was built this high, I have another house that was built this high. And so you have these issues that one neighbor doesn't have a problem, one does, and it's incongruent for our citizens. Now, when it comes to the other thing, I truly was looking for staff direction. So I don't necessarily have an answer. What you said is exactly right. I do think we need to watch for the egresses that we need to have in place. I'm just saying what I know is in place seems like lack of common. I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but it really does put, if they all followed the law that we say, most of it would put their shed right in the middle of their yard, and that doesn't make any sense to me. That is what we agreed. I wasn't here when they agreed to that back in the day. So it is what we have today. And so I'm bringing some things that I just don't think make sense. But the first one, actually, that's where I stand. Again, I don't have a hard set of what this is the answer, because I actually am asking staff. You guys are very, very good and smart at doing this. I also know that we are at a place where we have our code enforcement running around to some of these things, and I'd love to take off their table things that don't make sense, that we don't need to be running after. So it's a bit of a complicated conversation, but those are where I come from and the areas that I stand.
Thank you.
If that helps.
Go ahead, Ms. Spivey.
So today, Mr. Mayor, this agenda item is not for us to vote yes or no on a fence height or on a shed. We've added to the conversation of kind of where a lot of us stand on that, especially with the fence height. And I would agree if Mr. Dare is not specific on the shed, whether staff looks at what's reasonable and do we keep the same, do we not? Maybe that is an option, but we are simply today, our vote today is to direct the city manager to initiate changes to Title 20 regarding these two items. So we're just voting yes or no, send the city manager, on his way to work with you and to look at initiating these changes, correct? Am I clear?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
that's what I got, directing the city manager. Ms. Vanderwell.
I just need a clarifying question on, so 200 square feet or less does not require a building permit. So do we only know if they have put it in the wrong spot, if code enforcement goes out?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, usually when the neighbor calls because they're upset about something.
I know.
And thus the change, in my mind, makes sense instead of pitting neighbors against each other over a shed that's been there 10, 20 years, that all of a sudden they got a new neighbor, or they got upset about something that now we have neighborhood wars. And I'd prefer not to do that. But, all right, so we're going to try and make a motion here.
There's a motion there.
You good with that one? Did you read it? All right.
We'll see if it passes.
All right, Ms. Bybee.
Okay. Maybe. I move to direct the city manager to initiate changes to Sparks Municipal Code Sections 20-04-002 to amend regulations related to accessory structures 200 square feet or less, and Sparks Municipal Code 20-04-004, regulations related to residential fence height when adjacent to arterial roadways.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. My last conversation is, what happens at 3-foot spaces? Generally where all the junk collects in your backyard, which attracts the mice and everything else. So that's my last comment on that. All right, so with that, any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Danny. All right, 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a 3-year Foxborough Intelligent Automation Customer First Support Agreement, AC 6066, for the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility with Schneider Electric Systems USA, Inc., with a total cost $328,116, with the City of Sparks estimated share to be $125,209.06.
Greetings, Mayor and members of City Council. I'm Jeff Bigham, for the IT Operations Manager, for the record. So I'm here seeking approval for the Customer First Agreement, which is known as the CFA. The CFA provides Tumworth with discounted parts, support, updates, and preventative maintenance on our distributed control system, which is the brains of the plant itself. This year, we've decided to include in the CFA a cybersecurity assessment piece. Overall, it's a 3-year agreement. With the current CFA ending in September 30th, this is just a renewal of the existing agreement, basically. The first year is funded in FY '25. And I want to thank the City Attorney's Office for helping us review this contract. Staff recommends approval, and I'm here for any questions.
All right, questions from the council? Don't see any. Great presentation. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve the 3-year Foxborough Intelligent Automation Customer First Support Agreement AC 6066 for the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility with Schneider Electric Systems USA Incorporated with a total cost of $328,116, with the City of Sparks estimated share at $125,209.06.
Mr. Abbott.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Jeff. 9.6, consideration discussion of possible approval of a 2-year contract, AC 6068 with Emgro.
Yes, sir.
Is that spelled correctly?
It is.
Emgro, to provide mental health services for Sparks Public Safety employees in the amount not to exceed $381,500. Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. For the record, I'm Chris Cropforth, your police chief. As you may recall, 2 years ago, staff identified a local mental health service and utilized ARPA funding to assist our public safety employees, both our civilian staff and our sworn staff, in dealing with mental health trauma created during their workdays and carried throughout their careers. As we know, our first responders see and deal with things on a daily basis that the average citizen would struggle to deal with, which means it takes its toll on our employees. Prior to this implementation, the police department had approximately 1 officer per year resign due to mental health trauma. Since we have implemented this, we have not seen that and hope that has ended. We also do not collect data due to HIPAA rules that engage with the doctor. Before you today is a new 2-year contract effective October 1st, 2024, if approved, through September 30th of 2026, for a total amount of $381,500 with the same mental health provider, Dr. Steve Nicholas. The funding for the FY25 costs this year are within the police budget. The new 2-year contract price is the same price as the prior contract. Dr. Nicholas's connections within our region continue to pay substantial dividends to our employees by assuring that any assistance needed is timely and appropriate for employees to return to work healthy. Dr. Nicholas apologizes. He is on a plane on his way home after watching an Eagles game and getting a little R&R himself. One recent example of his work, Dr. Nicholas spent more than a week on the Davis fire, checking in on both our fire staff, our other first responders and other agencies as well. He relayed some of the examples, not only just checking in, making sure they were okay, but he spent a bunch of time. We had so many first responders that lived in the impacted areas. He was fueling up generators to make sure when they returned home, their homes were good, so which relieved a lot of stress on them and their families. So he also utilized his contacts to assist the management team with assuring meals were provided to firefighters because of how quick that fire grew, but it took a long time to get incident command here. So firefighter meals is a big deal to keep them fed, obviously, and that was a big issue in the first few days. So he made sure to manage that. Staff recommends approval, and I'm here for any questions.
Questions from the council, Mr. Dare.
I actually just want to tell you, I think this is crucial for our men and women of any of this. I do agree that they walk through and see things that more normal people that get to run away from those things don't have that. And so I think this is not only for them, but for their families and for the longevity of what they're going to do. So I think this is a great investment into that. So thank you. Thanks for bringing it.
Mr. Anderson.
Just want to thank you, Chief, for bringing this to us, as well as Chief White. Dr. Nicholas has been doing a great job for us, and he has done so well in understanding the culture of the men and women that are on the front lines for our city. And I think it's well worth the value that we're getting for his service. And I want to emphasize again my appreciation for you and Chief White recognizing this and not just having that old culture of, walk it off, you're going to be good, because we can't allow for undiagnosed issues to take place and it being long-term impact on people's lives and their families. I mean, the record is very clear that it's failed marriages, relationships, and quite often health-related issues along with it. So I just want to say thank you again. I truly appreciate this.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, then I am looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve a 2-year contract, AC 6068 with MGRO, to provide mental health services for Sparks Public Safety employees for an amount not to exceed $381,500.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Chief.
Sure.
Madam Clerk, 10.1, public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible action on an appeal of the city manager's denial of the request to reverse sewer usage charges in the amount of $11,183.78 for 1225 Sparks Holdings LLC at the premises located at 1225 Victorian Avenue.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and City Council. I'm Michelle Harper, Client Relations Supervisor for the record. Sparks Municipal Code allows anyone aggrieved by sewer usage charges or penalties to appeal those fees to the Sewer Appeals Committee. An appeal was received in the amount of $11,183.78 from 1225 Sparks Holding LLC, commonly known as Siegel Suites. The customer stated the excessive usage was due to leaky toilets. After reviewing information provided by the customer, it was determined the water discharged into the sewer system was treated by the sewer treatment plant and was appropriately billed based on usage. Based on that information, a recommendation by the Sewer Appeals Committee of denial of the appeal of usage was made to the city manager, who agreed with the recommendation. I would like to note penalties were assessed on the account in the amount of $1,187.21, and those were waived based on the recommendation and have been credited to the customer's account. The customer has now appealed the denial by the city manager to council. In the appeal letter, the customer claimed they received a credit from Truckee Meadows Water Authority, commonly known as TUMWA, but did not disclose the amount. Client relations staff spoke to TUMWA and were advised the customer was billed full usage at a lower tiered rate, and a credit of $1,704.64, or approximately 15% of the billed amount, was issued. Staff opinion is, since the water went into the sewer system and was treated at the treatment plant, the cost appropriately reflects in the billed amount. Staff continues to recommend council uphold the city manager's decision. However, alternative options with differing credit amounts have been provided. Community Services Director Michael Drinkwater is available if you would like additional information on the water treatment process. And council decision on this matter is final, and as a reminder, this is a public hearing. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
All right, questions from council? All right, this is, go ahead, Christopher.
I just want to, how often do we find ourselves in this situation?
For an appeal of usage?
Not an appeal, that we are charging somebody for overuse of their sewage in that case. Do we know?
This is the first time that I've had this in 13 years.
I just wonder how we got here. I'm just asking how we got here.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just as a reminder to the council, for commercial properties, per our code, the rate for commercial properties is based on water usage through the TUMWA meters. On occasion, we have had other appeals. Most of the time, those are specific to an irrigation leak that is running off that same meter, and we work with the client and with TUMWA. And if we have relative certainty that that water did not go down the sewer system, where of course it then goes to our treatment plant and there's a decent cost to treat that water going down, then we do credit it back if it's irrigation only. In this case, there's no indication that the water usage from leaky toilets, which is a maintenance issue for this commercial property, went anywhere but our sewage treatment plant. So while it may have been clean water, we got to clean it again at Tumwharf. Does that help?
It does.
Thank you.
Mr. Abbott.
And I will just add on a little bit to that, Councilman Dare. I am blessed to serve on the Sewer Appeals Committee. And so we have monthly meetings. This is our first one that I've ever seen get appealed up to us. And so we have residents, commercial properties, I would say from 3 to 15 a month roughly that we review. We definitely give them a fair chance that they can attend, make their case. So this is just one of our bigger ones that we did recommend to not give them the credit, and here we are.
Okay, anything else? All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wishing to speak on this item? Not, we'll bring it back to the dais, and we're looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I move to affirm the city manager's denial of the request to reverse sewer usage charges in the amount of $11,183.78 for 1225 Sparks Holding LLC at the premises located at 1225 Victorian Avenue.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk, 11.1, second reading. Do we have to read it?
We do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Well, it's a declarative we.
This is the second reading, public hearing, discussion, and possible adoption of Bill Number 2824 to amend the Spanish Springs Town Center Plan Development, Spanish Springs Town Center Development Plan Design Standards and Regulations Handbook to 1, eliminate the requirement for mini warehouse facilities to incorporate a manager residence, 2, increase maximum height of mini warehouse usage from 26 feet to 35 feet when located at least 50 feet from the property line. 3, require approval of a conditional use permit for mini warehouse usage over 26 feet in height. And 4, add development standards for climate-controlled mini warehouse facilities on an approximately 8.9 acre site generally located east of Galleria Parkway and south of Los Altos Parkway, APN 510-491-15 through 17, in the NUD New Urban District, Spanish Springs Town Center Zoning District. Whew.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That will be longer than my presentation. So, again, Mayor and members of the City Council, once again, I'm Dani Ray, Senior Planner. The council may recall this item was continued today from the July 22nd City Council meeting at the request of the applicant. Because a public hearing was noticed, the council should open the public hearing and after closing, accept the withdrawal of the application. That concludes my presentation. I'm here if you have any questions.
All right. It's a public hearing. We'll open it to the public. Anyone in the public wishing to speak on this item? No? We're going to bring it back to the dais. And do I need a motion? So I need a motion to pull it. Mr. Dare.
I move to accept the withdrawal of the application at the request of the applicant.
Mr. Anderson.
And I will second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dani. All right, public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to make a comment at this time? Not a very talkative group today. Bill? Thank you. All right, announcements. Anyone else in the public? You make sure you fill out a card. Announcements from the mayor, city council, and city manager. Mr. Manager?
None today, Mr. Mayor.
Council, do you have anything? Donald?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yep.
I would just like to share that Opportunity Alliance Nevada is going to be doing an introduction to Bridges Out of Poverty on October 14th, 11:30 to 1 p.m. in the City of Sparks conference room. and registration is on the Opportunity Alliance Nevada website, and also it is being shared through our City of Sparks social media.
Mr. Rabbit.
I just want to remind everyone that we have this emergency go bag stuffing Wednesday morning, 8:30 to 1, here at City Hall in the downtown training room. So come out, bring your friends, your parents, your grandparents. We need them all, and we'll stuff some bags for some seniors.
Mr. Anderson.
Wanted to just say that it was an awesome KTMB community cleanup this weekend, and wanted to thank KTMB and their staff for helping to put it together. And the City of Sparks did an awesome job as usual. They were out there with their Public Works folks. I even saw this guy hanging on to a garbage truck. And then the Sparks Fire Department had their water rescue team out there helping to clean the trash out of the river. So I just want to say thanks for Public Works and Sparks Fire for all their assistance. There were hundreds, just in Sparks, hundreds of volunteers, and I just want to say thank you for all of those, not to mention those that were in West Sparks.
Anyone else?
I just want to say, have a great day. Keep smiling. Don't choke.
Sorry. Okay, with that, we're adjourned.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere,
We
Greg.
got redevelopment. Okay, I need your gavel, though. I don't have a gavel. I had 3 in here. I had always 2 to 3 gavels in here. So I don't know if the meetings, well, there they all are. Okay, is this one yours? Does yours have a name on it? Have your name on any of them?
Whatever one you want.
Okay. Wow. This is where they all, that's the gold one, so that should be yours. I'll put 2 in here. Yeah, they must have just shifted them over. There's not one that says mayor? No? Doesn't have anything. Huh. Okay. Lisa, tell me when you're ready. Okay. All right, okay. Like to call to order the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting for Monday, September 23rd, 2024, with a roll call.
Chairperson Bybee.
Here.
Agency members Lawson.
Here.
Abbott.
Here.
Vanderwell.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Dare.
Here.
Chief Legal Officer Duncan.
Here.
Assistant Chief Administrative Officer Martini.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item 3.1, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, move on to item 4.1, approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion. Agency Member Vanderwell.
Move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 5.1, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the minutes of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting for August 26, 2024. Do I have corrections, additions, or a motion to approve? Agency Member Dare?
I move to approve the minutes of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting for August 26, 2024.
Thank you. Agency Member Abbott?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. 6.1, consideration possible acceptance of the report of the claims and bills approved for payment and appropriation transfers for the period of August 14th, 2024 through September 10th, 2024. Looking for a motion. Agency Member Anderson?
Move to accept the report of claims and bills and appropriation transfers for the period of August 14th, 2024 through September 10th, 2024.
Thank you. Agency Member Vanderwell?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7. There are no business items. So we're going to move right ahead to item 8.1, comments from the public. Do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, I will close item 8.1. 8.2, announcements from the agency chair and chief administrative officer. Mr. Martini?
None here, thank you.
Any members? Seeing none, close item 8.2, and we are adjourned. Thank you.